The weather's warmed up so I can get some stuff done now. We were gone for a week to go south for my wife's eye surgery, and when we came back there was a foot of snow or so on the ground. We had to get plowed up. The power had been out for a while, my water was froze up, and then it turned off and got cold. Got down to about 5 degrees. I got the snow plowed and got the water thawed out and running down the cabin, but it just was too cold to do anything else. It just kind of holed up for a while. I had tried to get the shop warmed up. I had fires going in there every day for a while, but the best I could do was get it up to about 40 degrees after having the stove going all day, and I just didn't have enough firewood to keep that up. And the stuff I got's not very good, so it takes almost as much heat to dry it out in the stove as it does to put out in the shop. All the walls in the basement here are insulated. They're styrofoam insulated concrete forms, so I've got 5 inches of styrofoam insulation plus the 8 inches of concrete in the walls, and then they're all buried on 3 sides here. So you'd think it'd be pretty good insulation, but I've got a big double door there on the one side of the basement, and then the ceiling of the basement's not insulated, and we don't have much heat upstairs in the house right now, and so all the heat was going up there, and with 2 electric heaters going, the best I could do was about 40 degrees in here. So I didn't much feel like working in that weather, but it warmed up. It went from 5 degrees to 34 degrees overnight. Of course it started snowing with that, so I had to take care of the snow, and it warmed up enough and got the snow taken care of, and now it's raining out, so I really don't want to work outside. Still lots of snow on everything and still wet out there, but it did get warmed up in the shop enough where I could work on this pulley, so I decided to work on it a little bit. I sandblasted the powder coat off of it. I tried to burn it off, but that stuff just wouldn't burn off. In October we went south for a couple weeks to have my wife's eye exam, and then we went down to see the grandkids, and I stopped in Portland with the idea of going by the guy that manufactured these mobile dimension sawmills to get parts from him and stuff, and get one of these pulleys and some belts. Now I've still got a full set of belts on the carriage for this, but they're getting pretty stiff, so I wanted to get new belts, and I thought I could just go by his place and pick them up and save the shipping and everything on it since I was there. But he didn't really have a place of business anymore. I called him and talked to him for quite a while. He's quite a character, but we decided it was just as easier for him to ship everything up to me. One of the things I got beside the belts was the studs for the valve adjustments on there. Apparently for a period of time, I don't know whether Volkswagen quit making them or they got them from a supplier that wasn't hardening the ends of them or what, but anyway, the studs for the valve adjustment wear out on them, and that's what happened to the ones on the motor for the mill, is those were in pretty bad shape. So I ordered new studs for it, and I got some new ignition stuff and everything for the motor of the mill, and I got that stuff, but I also got the parts, the brake parts for the truck for my pickup, and I needed to work on that. So when I got home in October, I started working on it, and I got the rear brakes fixed up on it and put it in the shop there to get the front brakes worked on, and then found out the tie rods were bad on it. So anyway, I ordered new tie rods, and then as I was putting it together to run it for a little while, because the tires on my son's car, which we were using while the pickup was being worked on, anyway, those tires were pretty bad. I got it running while we got the new tires set up for my son's car. So then I worked on the Mighty Mite bandsaw mill. I got a log out and put it on the mill, got it squared up, and was getting ready to mill it up, but my blades weren't running right, and my blade guides wore out. So I took the blade guides off and redid those, and then of course the weather was too rainy to work on them outside, too wet, snowy, nasty and everything. Well, then we had to go south again. The 1st of January for my wife's eye surgery. We come back, now I've got all the parts gathered up for everything, so I can start working on everything and get it all back together. I got new belts for a Mighty Mite sawmill. I needed new belts for it. The blade guides are up in good shape, so I can get those put on and get that going. And I got all the parts to work on my truck, and I got all the parts for the mobile dimension sawmill. So I've got way too much work to do here now. Well, I decided to go ahead and start here on the Mighty Mite sawmill while it's raining outside and it's still too snowy to work on the pickup. And I'd broken the edges of these belts, the grooves on the edges of this pulley. I'd broken those when I was pulling that off. I was going to get a new one, but I decided to try something first. I cleaned that up and brought it up here, and I TIG brazed in those grooves. So now I'm going to mill those out or machine those out. I've got it mounted up on the lathe. I had to change over the jaws on the 3-jaw chuck, switch them around so I could grab that. I've got a bullnose center in there to support that on the outboard end. So I've got this pretty well dumbed up here with brazing rod with brass. We'll see how well I did there on brazing that. I'm had a hell of a time. This cast iron hub was pitted with rust and stuff, and that always had a tendency to oxidize out when you heat it up and you're trying to weld anything on it. I have a heck of a time with metal when it's oxidized out like that, when it's rusted like that. I might start pushing it too fast. I start heating things up, and then I'll put the rod in there and start melting it, and then it BBs up on the stuff. And anyway, I got it. We'll see how well it holds up on there, just see how it holds up as I start machining it down. So turn this thing on, and I think I'll run it at slow speed to start with here to see how it runs. Turned it over by hand and everything is clear. So the first thing I'm probably going to do is face off this front side a little bit here and get that down to match up with the pulley, and then we'll take this down, the OD on these down so it's all uniform, and see if I need to add any more brass anywhere. I thought I had it all up above. There might be a little bit low spot right there, so I might have to add some more material in there. So we'll see how this goes. It's turning pretty true. I got that skin down there faced off. Just made just a lightest of skim coats on that cast iron on the existing pulley, so that's, it didn't get the whole face of the cast iron, but got all of that off. I'm going to have to go inside there and bore that out, this relief in here on the inside face of that casting. I have to go in there and bore that out this way to get it matched up with to get the brass matched up with the cast iron. But I'm going to do that once I take the bullnose center off of there. So I guess now what I'll do is find the high spot and just start taking that thing down. I took this brass down to where I just touched on the cast iron here, on the OD of the cast iron, and I could see now that I'm going to have to bring this up a little bit more. There's about a 2.5 inch section here and a little 1.25 inch section here that's going to have to come up a little bit more. Well, I didn't put my welder away yet. I'll go ahead and set this up, this back over there on the welding table, and get some more brazing rod out and bring this up here. Well, I built those edges up there on that pulley where they were low a little bit, got them up higher than the outside diameter of the pulley, and of course some of the bead went over the face here, so I'm going to have to face that back off again. Oh yeah, and I got to plug my lathe back in. I've only got one 220 outlet here, and I have to unplug it and plug the welder in, and then unplug the welder and plug the lathe back in. And I got the magnetic switch on there, so that automatically shuts everything off when the power goes off. So here we go again. Everything's back on again. It's still a little bit warm. Okay, so that's the wide spot right there. I tried to get it hooked in to this edge right here, but it keeps burning away because of the rust and stuff on there, on the steel. I think I got it, but anyway, I wound up with a big wide puddle there. So go ahead and face that off again, and then bring this down, this OD down, like I did before. Okay, just skimmed the cast iron on that in some places. I got a nice even line out here. Now I got to figure out how I'm going to get that stuff out of between. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. I have to make up a new tool. Let's see if I can get some of that material out here using a parting tool. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that parting tool up with the center of that groove, and go ahead and lock that carriage down right there. That's on the center of that groove. Back that out and start over again, and then just hog that material out of that groove on there in the center of it, and then I'll move over a little bit, do some more. I'm not going to get the shape of it. I'm going to have to get a tool that I can use to get the shape of that, to get in there to get that finished. But this will get the material out of there. I got it. Got all of the brass trimmed out of there, and it turned out pretty good. It's not perfect. I've got some sharp spots here on the rim where they kept blowing away the cast iron, and the brass wouldn't stick to it there. This side's not too bad. This middle one here got some edges on it, but down in is good. It's trimmed out pretty good. I used a combination of different tools on that. I found this tool here in a kit that I got from Grizzly when I bought the lathe. The first ones, a couple of them I used. I broke the deals out of them, and I decided I didn't like these carbide tips, but I would have had to go grind one on a tool steel one to get what I needed, but I was able to get this one to fit. I adjusted the tool post so that this flat was parallel with the groove here, and took out the smoothed it right down until I got it to where it was rubbing on the cast iron, and then turned it this way, did the same thing on the other side. Got both those grooves down. The tool wasn't deep enough to go all the way in, so I went ahead and used a parting tool in there to clean out the bottom of it, and then the file. The parting tool didn't work really very good. It just wants to wander, because it doesn't have a channel, a groove to keep it straight, and it just wanted to wander. But that looks pretty good for who it's for and who did it. Certainly not a professional job, certainly not up to the standards of some of the guys I watch on YouTube, but it'll work for what I need. So now I'm going to go ahead and take this bullnose center out of there, and I'll bore out or clean out this recess here in the face of that pulley. So I think that's going to work. It looks good. Yeah, I think so. I was afraid that I wasn't getting this bonded to the cast iron very good, and I was just afraid that whole thing was going to come flying out of there. And so since it held in there with the interrupted cut going around on the lathe, I think it's going to be okay. I got it bonded in there better than I'd hoped, or as good as I'd hoped, and better than I thought. So I'm going to pull that bullnose center out of there, and I'll get a tool and clean out that groove. Yeah, that's going to work. Well, that is done. Got those grooves all dug out, cleaned out, and went back in this pocket here and cleaned that out there. That was a heck of a thing there. That all of that, the interrupted cut was just jouncing everything around. It was actually moving. I had locked the carriage down, or the carriage down, and it was moving a little bit, and the compound was moving. I locked it down. Of course, I couldn't lock the cross slide down because I was moving it. And then when I was using the boring bar, it was still jouncing up and down with that, even though I was taking off just light cuts, barely taking anything. It was flexing the boring bar away and my cutters away and everything. But it turned out okay. Not quite as good as I pictured it, but adequate. I said I couldn't get that bronzing, the brass, the brazing to stick here on this edge here. It just kept burning away the cast iron instead. There's just so much rust and stuff in there that it just burnt that away. But I was afraid I wasn't getting it bonded at all to that, but it bonded pretty good. If that stuff didn't come off of there with the jouncing that it took from that interrupted cut, it's not coming off of there. So I'm going to take a little file and clean out some of these sharp spots here. That one there actually bonded in pretty good on this side, but it didn't on this side here. And then this middle one here, where that is real thin there, and I just couldn't get that to bond in there to the cast iron at all. I mean, without burning it up. So anyway, I think that'll work. I'll take a file and smooth those out a little bit, but when I powder coat that, that's all gonna smooth that out anyway. So I took some emery cloth and polished everything up here and then inside of this bore on that, and I polished that up pretty good in there, because that was pretty rough from the rust and from the sandblasting and stuff. And then maybe that's what happened, why that thing broke in the first place, is I'd powder coated that, and anyway it wasn't as smooth as it could have been, and it stuck on there, and so it wouldn't slide off. So anyway, I've got that polished out pretty good. Polished it with my emery cloth and then with some 360 sandpaper, wet and dry, with some oil on it, and that smoothed that out pretty good. So that should go on there a lot better. Like I said, I'll powder coat this, and then I'll put some Marvel Mystery Oil on that. That's that real light oil, Marvel Mystery Oil is, and it kind of penetrates the pores in there. I don't want to put corrosion block on there because that stuff dries hard. Paraffin in it seals up and it gets sticky, and it'll make it harder to come off if I ever have to take it off. But a little Marvel Mystery Oil penetrates into the pores on everything and should make it so it'll come off when it needs to. Now, so I'm going to go ahead and polish this up a little bit more. These grooves in here that other grooves, I can just polish them up a little bit and turn that around and polish this front face up a little bit here. And then I got one more thing to do before I powder coat it. I had a couple of these, see these holes here, these are through holes where the bolts go through and pull this onto that cone, onto that bushing on the flywheel, on the ring gear, and that's what pulls it tight. And then to take it off, you pull those bolts out of there and then thread them in these other holes here. And these are threaded, they're 1/4 and that's, as you thread through there, then the bolts come out and push against that flywheel, and that's what pushes this pulley off of the tapered cone on that flywheel. Well, one of those stripped out when I was taking that off. Maybe two of them did, I don't know. But anyway, I think I'm going to drill that out and put a helicoil in there, and then I'll powder coat it. So it's looking pretty good now, I think. Like I said, it's not as pretty as my dreams had it, but it'll work. Yeah, that'll work. I took this pulley down to the shop and drilled this one hole. I checked all these holes with a tap first, a 1/4 inch 20 tap, and this one over here was pretty sloppy. The other two are okay. Anyway, I took it down to the shop, drilled it out with a 17/64 drill bit, and used a tap in there to tap it for the helicoil. It comes in the kit, and I put a 1/4 inch 20 helicoil in there with some Loctite, and I run the screw through it, and it should work. So anyway, I'm going to leave this. Brought it back up here to the basement where there's some heat in here and it's fairly dry. I'll leave that in there tonight, and tomorrow I'll get a fire going in the shop and dig out the powder coating stuff, heat up my oven, and get that powder coated.